A great day to one and all. I am Kim J.C. Ensho, a faculty member of Iloilo National High School STE, and I will be discussing with you writing descriptive textual discussion and tabular data display, particularly of our results. Basically, what we will be doing this week will be quite somehow similar to what we did last week. It's just that we will be dealing now with results instead of having our demographic profile. So I will be discussing this again. There are many ways of writing textual discussion of descriptive tables. They vary by writer, by school, by the standards set by the academe. And for our case, we will be adapting the one that I will be presenting to you later on. Our focus for today is on writing discussions of the results when respondents were taken as a whole and when they are grouped according to various categories or levels. And remember this, you are free to create your own discussion as long as you do not deviate from the essence of your data. We have different writing styles. We have different vocabulary. But what is important as when we write our discussion, we just simply ground ourselves within the data. Presume that your audience knows how to read. That's why we have to give them the presumption of literacy, and we do not simply repeat what's written on the tables, and we have to have a better or a higher interpretation as much as possible. We have to provide other interpretation aside from simply repeating what is on the table. And we have to remember that textual discussion comes first before our tabular data display. So discussion first before we have our tables. It's also very important, if necessary, to use transition words like also, moreover, furthermore, etc. And they can be used in our discussion, especially if sequence in the discussion is needed. Do not break tables. Make sure that the entirety of a table, including the table number and the name of the table, is located in one page only. If you have, say, footnotes or legends or notes also regarding the table, as much as possible, it should be seen in one page. Remember this, that we have the freedom in writing, but for our case this time, we have to maintain objectivity. And we should not be biased. And remember as well that technical or scientific writing is not the same as journalistic writing. So we have to know the distinction between them. I believe you have the idea about their distinction. And this time, I would like you to stick more on the technical or scientific writing rather than on journalistic writing. For our class as well, you may do this handwritten or computerized. If computerized, please use the following specifications. The font style will be Tahoma, size 11. Paper is short size, or that's 8.5 inches by 11 inches. The orientation would be portrait. And I would like to have margins of 1 inch in all sides. And the spacing would be 1.5. Note that the spacing here applies in our text, but for our table, it does not apply. Let us have an example. I will give you a situation. Let's say the situation is you would like to determine the average weekly allowance in Philippine pesos of randomly selected learners of Iloilo National High School SPSTE for school year 2021-2022 during the time of COVID-19 pandemic. To interpret means you intended to use the scale below. let's say the mean allowance in Philippine pesos and their description on the other column. If the mean allowance is 401 and above, that would be described as high. From 201.00 to 400.99, that would be interpreted as average. And for 0.00 to 200.99, that would be interpreted as low in mean allowance. Take note that in many instances in your study later on, especially if you will be doing surveys with people, this scale is actually used to interpret means. And to craft your scale, you either make one or you adapt one from other authors, or if necessary, you may make one with a direction of your advisor or your panel members in your thesis, for example. And let's say this is the one that you had for your study for now. All right. Let's say you have arrived to this table. We have here table 2, which is weekly allowance of INHSS PSTE learners. And we have here 5 columns. The first column is on category, where we take them as an entire group, and we group them according to sex, either male or female. And in terms of grade level, let's say you have 7, 8, 9, 10. The second column is all about the N. The N here indicates the number of respondents that fall on the entire group, or when they are grouped to certain categories or levels. SD here stands for standard deviation. So here are the standard deviations, and here are the means. For example, as an entire group, the mean allowance is 405 pesos and 85 centavos. And the standard deviations of all the allowances of these 400 people is 8.75. In terms of sex, let's say there are 250 males out of the 400, and their mean allowance is 389 pesos and 50 centavos with a standard deviation of 5.57, and so on. So we have here the N, the standard deviations, the M stands for mean, and for the descriptions as well. Note that for the last column, we do not have a description yet. That's why this time we will be filling that in using the scale we had earlier. And the one that, based on this one earlier, we have here your legend, and we place them in this way, 401.00 and above, that's high, and so on. We just copied it from the previous scale and placed them together as one sentence, for example, or simply as, like in this way rather. And by the way, for this case, this is just made up, so data here is fictitious. But later on, hopefully, when you have your own study, then you could have you will do this for real life data that you had. Okay, this time, what we will be doing is we will be filling in the description column. So from here, if you could see, take note that the description here is based on the means in our fourth column. If you could see, 405.85 falls in the 401.00 and above range, because okay, this one is it falls here, so we will say it's high. So right here, high. Let's go to the next one. For males, the mean of the males is 389 pesos and 50 centavos, and this amount is within 201.00 to 400.99, right? And it's described as average. So we will be writing average here. For females, their mean allowance is 433.10. And 433.10 is within the 401 and above. So it's still high. So here, we were able to do this for sex. for males and females. And for the grade level, we will still be doing the same thing. This 401.10 belongs here, so this is also high. The 110, I mean, this 275.40, it's here, no? It's average. The 389.50, it's still average. And the 447.45 belongs to high level. So we will place here high. And there you have it. Here you have it. We were able to complete now the description column of our results, particularly of our descriptive data table like this. And this time, we will be writing now your textual discussion. And let's say I have this one. And we will discuss this table now. I just copied it from the previous slide. And I have here your discussion. If you could notice again, just similarly, just like what we did last meeting or session, I have here some sort of color coding to indicate that the entries here written in violet, for example, or in purple, corresponds here to the text. This one for sex, it's here in red. And for the discussion for grade level, it's also the same color as this one. For the entire group, this one, I wrote here, it could be seen that the respondents' weekly allowance and open parenthesis M equals 405.85, comma, SD 8.75 as a whole has reached the high level. Note that here I have here the M and the SD written. I would like you to write the M first, followed by the SD. And note as well in the table that N, SD, M are statistical abbreviations or statistical variables, so I would like them to be italicized. But category and descriptions are not statistical variables, so they are not italicized here. And also, in the discussion, I would like them to be italicized as well. Okay, so mean first reported by this comma, standard deviation, placed inside your parentheses. So moving on to sex, here's a sample discussion. When grouped according to sex, it could be noticed that female, reporting their mean and standard deviation as well, respondents' weekly allowance reached the high level, in contrast to male, then reporting again the mean and standard deviation here, whose average mean allowance reached the average level only. So you see, I only had one sentence discussion for the sex. For the grade level, the discussion could be written this way. When categorized according to grade level, both grade 7 and 10 respondents have high level of weekly allowance, while the rest of the grade levels, mean weekly allowance reached the average level. So you see, I reported only the mean and standard deviation of grade 7 and 10, but that of 8 and 9 are not. But I mentioned that they're in average. If you wish to report, no problem, it's still okay. There are many ways of writing results, and you have to adapt one which suits your taste. And as what I mentioned earlier, as long as you explained it in relation to objectivity without deviating from objectivity, then there's no problem with that. And I have here, table 2 shows the results like this. I do not begin with table 1 because usually the table 1 is all about the demographic profile, and the results could begin with table 2. That's why I have it here. But remember, as what I mentioned last time, there's I just did the color coding here for the purpose for you to see the discussion. But in the actual paper, there should be only one color, and that is black. And Notice again that the discussion here should come before the table. All right. And with that, thank you very much and have a great day. And this is the example now. And if you could see here, this is the example of what I just did earlier. So we have here the situation and the discussion, weekly allowance of respondents here. And everything in the PowerPoint was just copied here. And that is what you will do for your activity for this week. So you see, it's just simple. So I have the situation here that's given, then textual discussion, then your tabular display of data. And for your activity this week, I will be giving you this situation. Don't worry, I will be forwarding this in our GC. So situation, a certain researcher would like to determine the perception of successful aging of purposively selected senior citizens in the district of La Paz, Iloilo City, Philippines, during the COVID-19 pandemic. The respondents answered a Likert scale with 20 item indicators scored from 1 to 5 and solved for means for each person. She grouped the respondents as a whole and categorized them according to certain groups or levels, and she intends to use the following scale. So kindly refer to this scale here. And the directions will be, I would like you to fill in the description column with the appropriate interpretation or description with N, and after which you have to write the textual discussion. So this one, here's the table. And all you have to do is write here. Don't worry, the table number, the title are there. And you just have to write the description here. And using that is using the legend you find here as well. So you have to be very careful and make sure that what you place here is in accordance with the legend. And after doing this, then write your textual discussion, erase this one, and begin the discussion here. So I wish you all the best. God bless everyone and a great day to one and all. Take care, everyone.